Software, and in this video we're going to show you how to create a procedure that executes on a remote endpoint. To do that, what we're going to do is to use our IT Guys demo application. The IT Guys demo application, as you can see, has two components to it, an application component and a database component. And when we deliver the change, it basically delivers a change to this web application here. Now the IT Guys app component has a WAR file and a configuration file, and the configuration file is XML based, and so part of the post-deployment activity is to make some changes into that configuration file. So we've already got some of this set up. There's a pre-action there called mmconfig, and if I look at that, that opens up the config file and sets some environment variables, the environment and the JDBC connection string and the like, based on our target environment. So we can change the database that gets connected to, etc., based on the environment that we're targeting. Okay, so relatively straightforward, but that's all out of the box functionality. What we're going to do is to create a procedure that's going to start a service on this box, or because it's a Windows machine that we're going to target. So we're going to start a service. Now all this is built into DeployHub, but you know we'll do it again just to show you how easy it is. So that's the service that we're going to start. We've got a CA SCM harvest service, and as you can see, it is currently stopped. So what we're going to do is to create a procedure that will actually start that, and then we're going to add that procedure into this workflow. So the way to do that is we'll start with our functions and procedures here, and I'm going to right click on my domain, and I'm going to say I'm going to create a new procedure in this domain. And the procedure we're calling it something like service start, and we're going to put that into our demo category just so we can find it again easy enough. And we're going to say starts the named service. Okay, and the kind. Now this is where we specify what kind of procedure this is going to be. So we can create this in DM script. If we write it in DM script, obviously it can be hosted as a stored procedure inside DeployHub itself, or we can store it in a repository somewhere. What we're actually going to do is we're going to execute this on the remote machine. So when we execute something on the remote machine, we say it's a procedure provided by remote external script or program. Now, when I select that, it's asking me to specify the file path to the command that I want to execute. Whether I want to allocate a terminal or not. This is useful if you're targeting Unix machines or Linux machines, essentially, where you get a TTY allocated, because some programs act differently depending on whether they're connected to a terminal or not. And we can also say copy to remote. What copy to remote does is allow us to write a script, store it on the DeployHub server, and actually get it delivered and pushed up to the target and executed there. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to run a net start command. So at the moment, the command I'm going to execute is actually net, is the command we're going to execute. So we just have to put net in for file path and click OK. And that will then create me my service start procedure. Now that's great, but what it doesn't do is actually start or stop a service or do anything at the moment. It's just going to call net, which clearly is not going to work. So what I'm going to do now is add some arguments to this procedure, and because I'm going to because net the syntax for net is net start and then the service name. So what I can do is I can add a command line switch in this bit here, and I can just say start, and so that gives me a start bit, and then I can add my actual parameter, which is my service name, and I can OK that. So this is the parameter that gets passed into this procedure. So the parameter is service name. I've also got a command line switch called start. And you can see that down here I've got these draggable blocks. And this is what my command line looks like. So all I have to do now is to drag these things onto the command line in the order I want them. So I can do net start service name. And that, essentially, it creates my procedure. So I pass a service name in, and whenever this procedure is executed, it will do net start and then service name. So as far as the procedure is concerned, that's it. That's what I want to execute on my remote machine, and I've specified a parameter of the service name that I want to call. So now let's go back to my amend config action that we saw before. So this is the action that was setting the different components of my configuration XML, so environment, JWC and build number. What I'm going to do now is add that service start procedure that I just created. So there is that service start procedure. So what I can do is I can just drag that, oops. Okay, so I drag the service start on, and that service name is the parameter that was being requested before, right? So that's the service name that gets passed to that procedure. So my service name is, and let me copy from here, is CA Harvest SCM Agent Service. So I'll put in CA Harvest SCM Agent, is that right? Agent Service. And click OK. And so that now is added into my workflow. So when this workflow executes, that will actually execute on the target endpoint whenever this application is deployed. So let me go back to the application, and that's that too. And I'm going to, go to my application, not the component. I'm going to go to my application, I'm going to select that, I'm going to deploy that, and I'm going to deploy it into my development environment. And if I have a look at my timeline now, and look at 2697, have a look at the log, and you can see it says the CA Harvest SCM Agent Service is starting, because that's the procedure that's been called. And if I go over here and refresh on my Windows machine, you can see that the Harvest Agent Service has been started. So it's as simple as that. Creating a procedure that executes on a remote box is literally as simple as dragging and dropping the command line and command line switches into a command line order, and then dragging it onto your workflow, and that will then execute on the target during a deployment. I hope you find that interesting, yeah, that's the end of the demo. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.